Hey folks, Dr. Joe here. Hope everybody's having a spectacular day, and boy, is it a spectacular day. But what we're going to talk about today is something that could really take the sizzle out of your day, and that's allergies. How many people have allergies? Raise your hands. Okay, a lot of you. I know you do, because there's a couple of things that can cause allergies. And first, we want to make sure you understand what an allergy is. There's an allergy and a sensitivity. And an allergy, I'll probably cover this again later because this is important. An allergy is you actually have a reaction to something on a chemical level. We can take a blood sample and say, yes, you have a reaction to dairy. You have a reaction to pollen, whatever it is. We can do skin tests, those little skin pricks. They can show up, yes, you're having a reaction to. That's truly an allergy. Now, sensitivity essentially is the exact same thing, same symptoms, but it doesn't show up positive on testing. So this is where the problem comes in. Because people come out and say, well, I think I have an allergy to milk, let's say, which is the number one food allergen. And then they go to the doctor, they get tested. The doctor says, nope, you're fine. You don't have any positive tests for allergy to milk. So then you continue drinking milk or eating dairy products, feeling awful, and not understanding why you're still feeling awful. Because you're having a sensitivity, not a reaction. So the sensitivity, an allergic reaction. So what you need to do then is you need to determine how you feel when you're exposed to certain things. And later on in the show, we're going to talk about something called a rotation diet, where you rotate things in and out of your life, very simple, and you can then determine if you're having reactions to these things. Because if you just go about your daily routine and do everything you've always done and have the same reactions you're still having, it's going to be real hard to figure out where the problem's coming from. So we have to kind of change it up a little bit and then reintroduce things back in. Now, the question comes up, of course, is why do some people have allergies and some don't? Why is it that I can, like pollen, doesn't bother me that much? Other people, they're debilitated. So why is it that some people are around pollen, they go nuts, and it's different pollens for different people? And the reason is that, well, a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons is that your immune system is reacting differently, and you may have something called leaky gut syndrome. Remember that word. That's going to be a key word in today's talk, show, lecture, whatever you want to call it, because we're going to give you ideas as to what's happening. And when you understand leaky gut, a lot of other things clear up in your life. And then you're going to say, but Dr. Joe, how do I fix my leaky gut syndrome? And I'm going to tell you about that too. But the reason the colon is so important when it comes to allergies or the gut is because you have something called the body's microbiome. Now, these are colonies of various types of microbes, little bacteria, that reside in your gut and all over your body. And it's unique to you as your fingerprint is. Everyone has a different mix of bacteria. Now, it varies from person to person based on diet, lifestyle, health history, geographic location, even ancestry can play a role in this. Your microbiome is, in fact, probably the most complex ecosystem on the planet. So you look at something like the Amazon rainforest, and you think that's a complex ecosystem. Yeah, ain't even close to the bacteria going on in your body. This is interesting. In terms of ratios, your bacteria outnumber your body cells 10 to 1. So you have 10 times as many bacteria as you have human cells in your body. The viruses outnumber the bacteria 10 to 1. So not only is your body home to about 100 trillion bacteria, they also house about 100 quadrillion viruses. So really, we're not really human. We're just life support for bacteria and viruses. And when you keep the balance happy, you stay happy. But when you change that balance of the bacteria, that's when we start to have a problem. Now, why would you want to change the bacteria in your body? Now, all of the organisms perform a multitude of different functions that are key to your biological systems, and you need to balance them out. For example, your gut bacteria influence your immune system, your nervous system, and they play a role in development of any diseases, including allergies. So if you have good, healthy guts, chances are the rest of your health is going to fall in line, most of your health. So what could we possibly be doing to mess up the bacteria in our colon, to mess up this 10 to 1 ratio, 10 bacteria to 1 human cell? Now, food allergies affect about 15 million Americans. They include about 1 in every 13 children. Those are food allergies, not food sensitivities. Food sensitivities are a lot higher. If you don't know what a food sensitivity is, Go listen to the beginning of the show. It's on my website, going to be on my website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. So remember keywords in today's show: food allergies, food sensitivities, leaky gut syndrome. Inner city kids have a higher risk of allergies. One study, 10% of children raised in the large cities developed a food allergy before the age of 5. 29% developed food sensitivity. Food sensitivity, again, same reactions, but you're not having you can't do blood work for it. Nothing's showing up. Previous research also parallels the rise in allergies to the increase. Here it comes. Why are we throwing off our bacteria? Antibiotic and antimicrobial use. Allergies weren't as common in your parents' generation, and it was less common in their parents' generation, and so on and so on. So what happened is we came up with this amazing thing back in the 50s, I think it was, called antibiotics, which are amazing. And I'm not taking away the thrill of the antibiotic. But when I was a kid, anything that went wrong, we sent you to Dr. Waltman. I guess he's dead now. I can probably talk about him. In Hoboken, right around the corner from Willow Avenue where we grew up. And we'd go to Dr. Waltman, and he'd give you antibiotics for anything. Didn't matter what it was, cold or flu. I remember one time my mother brought me there, and he said, there's nothing wrong. We're not going to give him anything. And my mother got mad. When she left, she goes, I can't believe we spent all that money. It was probably $5, to go to doctors, and he wouldn't even give you a prescription. That's the mindset that many people have. I have to get a prescription if I go to the doctor. And so antibiotics were given out like candy. And unfortunately, that's what really started messing with our bacteria. Research parallels the rise of allergies to antibiotics and antimicrobial use. Now, it's not just antibiotics. What about antimicrobial? How about hand sanitizer? There's some sitting here. It's not mine, of course. That's sitting right here in the studio. These things are not good. And in fact, the CDC has said you do just as well washing your hands with soap and water as you do using the antimicrobials. And the antimicrobials have chemicals in them that are very, very dangerous to your immune system and your hormone system. Folks, got to go to a break. We're talking about allergies today. Stay tuned. A lot to cover today, and you got to listen to this because every one of you being affected by this. If you have any healthcare questions, I'm going to open up the phone line, 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE. You can call in with questions. That number, by the way, rings through to my offices when I'm not on the air. Hey, listen, don't go anywhere. Tell your friends about the show. We'll be right back. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe here. Hope everybody's having a fun day. We're talking about something that affects a lot of you, probably all of you at some point or another, and that's allergies. What really causes allergies? What can you do so that you react normally to certain things or other people are having reactions? And it's a lot to cover today, so make sure you tune in. If you have any healthcare questions, the number is 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE. That's Dr. Joe. And we'd be more than happy to get you on the air if you have a good question. And if you sound good on the air, we want to make sure we sound good. Rachel in there is a tough screener. Getting past Rachel's tough. So talking about allergies, they're really on the rise in the Western world. And a lot of it has to do with our use of antibiotics and antimicrobials, like antimicrobial soap. The other thing that really has caused some problems is genetically engineered food and the agricultural use of something called glyphosate, because it destroys your gut bacteria and promotes allergies. Now, what are genetically modified foods? If you listen to this show, if you listen to pretty much anything, you see commercials, you see store products that say no GMOs. GMO means genetically modified organism, which GMO stands for. And what scientists have done, I'm not happy with it, is they take the DNA of something, let's say it's corn or soy, and they change it. And one of two things happen when you genetically modify a food. Number one is you change the DNA so that it produces its own pesticides, which is one option. The other problem is that we change DNA so that we can spray chemicals like glyphosate, which is weed killer, onto the crop, and it doesn't kill the crop, but it kills the weeds. Well, the problem is that, how often you've heard me say, it's not nice to fool Mother Nature. Mother Nature got mad. So the weeds now have mutated, and many of the weeds are growing, and they're not being affected by the glyphosate. So now some companies, and there's a move afoot to try to bring back basically the active component of DDT. Now, DDT was banned because of childbirth issues and chemical reactions that people were having to it, but we're trying to bring it back because the glyphosate isn't working like it used to. So we're going to bring back something that we already banned, knowing it's dangerous for birth defects, but we want to kill our weeds. Isn't that crazy? So that's what's happening. And the glyphosate is now killing the bacteria in your body as well when you eat these foods or these animals that ate this glyphosate or foods that are sprayed with it. So it becomes a pretty big issue. A study showed that mice found that a common gut bacteria called Clostridia helps prevent sensitization of food allergies. In fact, the immune system responds to food allergens when it was responding were reversed once Clostridia bacteria was put back into the mice. So what happens is Clostridia, it instructs your immune system to produce a signaling molecule called interleukin 22. Don't worry about the chemistry there. And that's known to reduce the permeability of your intestines. So what it does, it helps prevent something called leaky gut syndrome. So see how there's one thing's leading to another to another. What the heck is leaky gut syndrome? You need to listen to this. Because if you have leaky gut syndrome, you're going to be amazed when I talk about the symptoms that it causes. You're going to say, well, that's me. And I've had my blood work done, and I've had an MRI, and I've had a CAT scan. I've been to the doctor, and nothing seems to be helping. And I don't know what it is, and the doctors have given up on me. How many of you fit into somewhat that scenario? Raise your hands. A lot of you, because I hear it every day in our practices. I still practice, folks. And when I go to practice, 33 years now, missed a half a day of work in 33 years. So when I go to practice, patients come in and they say, well, gosh, doc, I've got these symptoms, which I'm going to list, one of them being pain. Of course, as a chiropractor, we see a lot of pain patients. And we want to check their nervous system, but we also have to look at their digestive system. Because if you have leaky gut syndrome, you need to fix it. And the nice part is that chances are you can. So there's one type of bacteria seemed to help because it signaled interleukin 22, which helped prevent the leaky gut syndrome. Researchers suggest this discovery may eventually lead to probiotic therapies to treat food allergies. Isn't that nice? All the years I've been talking about what? Good bacteria, enzymes, how the body works, and now medical research finally catching up to us and saying that maybe we can actually treat food allergies with probiotics. Well, that's good too, but many of the things you're allergic to, like genetically modified foods, glyphosate, you shouldn't be eating anyway. So I don't want you to, take a pill and go, I don't feel bad when I eat wheat anymore, so I'm going to eat wheat or dairy or whatever. The wheat and dairy are the two big ones right there. Environmental stimuli, such as antibiotic overuse, high-fat diets, even cesarean birth. When the baby comes down the birth canal, a couple of things happen. Number one, they're exposed to a ton of bacteria. It kind of colonizates their body as they pass normally through the birth canal. And then number two, they're also squeezed through the birth canal. And a lot of doctors believe that when the lungs are squeezed, it pushes a lot of fluid out of the lungs and allows for better breathing. So cesarean sections, sometimes necessary, named after, by the way, Julius Caesar, who supposedly was born cesarean. I guess it wasn't called that when he was born. But when they come down the birth canal, it's a natural way. Now, if you have to have a cesarean, I understand that. But if we can go the normal way, that's going to be much better for us. Other things that can cause allergy issues: removal of common pathogens and even formula feeding affect the microbiome, which is the bacteria, and that can affect your allergy reactions. Early disruption of the gut flora may also promote metabolic problems. So the earlier you give a child antibiotics, the more reaction they're likely going to have. So in addition to increasing allergies, early disruption of the microbiome, the bacteria in your colon, can also have long-term effects on metabolism. One study suggests that exposing infants to antibiotics may in fact predispose them to obesity. So if you had antibiotics or gave your children antibiotics, and what it boils down to, I'll tell you in a second, 6 months or sooner, they're more prone to be overweight. Study published in the journal Cell. There is a window of time that changes the microbiome and has the most long-term effects. So again, the time frame is about first 6 months, potentially up to the first 3 years. But the first 6 months seems to be the one most dramatic when problems occur. Mice given antibiotics for the first 4 weeks of life grew up 25% heavier and had 60% more body fat than the ones that were not given antibiotics. So the antibiotics, when they came out, really were a godsend, and they saved a lot of lives. And again, I'm certainly not against them using them, but overuse of antibiotics becomes the problem. And you're thinking to yourself, but Dr. Joe, I don't take any antibiotics. I understand that, but you're getting exposed to them in your food. If you're eating typical commercially grown meats, dairy products, any animal products pretty much, you're looking at They're eating antibiotics, so now you're eating the antibiotics. And even though it's a low dose, these low doses build up over time. So that's why it's important you get good food into your body. And if you are going to eat bad food, at least also eat good food. But I prefer you don't only good food. That's why I created Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. They're 2 powders. I'm sitting right here in front of me. And they taste great. I mix them with like coconut milk or almond milk, shake it up and drink it. And it gives you the minimum amount of nutrients that your body needs. And it gives you probiotics, good bacteria, and prebiotics, which feed the good bacteria. And that's something we're going to cover when we get back, probiotics, prebiotics, and supplements too. Folks, got to go to a break. If you have any questions, the lines are open, 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE. My website, if you want to order supplements, books, listen to podcasts, hundreds of hours of podcasts, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. Supplements are also available on Amazon. Hey, folks, don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Hey, folks, don't go anywhere. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe here. I am so happy you're spending a little time with me. How exciting. I see lots of callers, too. If you have a question, folks, lines are open, 844-44-Dr. Joe. We're talking today about allergies and what really causes them, why some people have different reactions than others, and what you can do to try to control some of it. Now, some of it you can't control, but you can certainly control how bad the reaction is. So a couple of things you can do, and folks, if you're on hold, I'll be there in just a second, 844-44-Dr. Joe if you have a question. A couple of things you want to do to take good care of the bacteria in your colon. You got to cut back the grains and the sugar because this promotes growth of pathogens and yeast and fungus. And I'm going to get to yeast a little later, too. A lot of you have yeast overgrowth in your body. And if you have yeast overgrowth in your body, that could be the reason why you're so sick. And I'm going to tell you a simple little test you can do tomorrow morning at home for free to see if you might have a yeast infection. And if you do, you really want to treat it because chances are most other things you're going to do aren't going to work for all things, all parts of your health. But sugar is a big issue. Gluten can be particularly damaging to the microflora, the microbiome, the bacteria in your colon. Genetically engineered foods, as they contain the highest amounts of glyphosate because we spray this weed killer on the genetically modified foods to kill the weeds, but a lot of times that food isn't washed before you eat it, or it gets into the food, it permeates the food, or if you're eating animal products, those animals eat the food that's sprayed with glyphosate and other weed killers, and then that gets into their fat, and then when you eat the animal, you're eating the fat. So you definitely want to stay away from GMO foods. Number 1 genetically modified food is corn. Number 2 is soy. Maybe it's the other way around. But if you're going to eat corn or soy, I highly suggest you do organic only. And when it comes to soy, you should probably do fermented, like miso or tempeh. But the corn, I want you to think about this for a second. And I just did this week, and that's why I can say it. I'd gotten some vegan tamales. Now, I'm vegan. I don't eat any animal products. And they were vegan tamales, and they were made with organic corn, and boy, were they delicious. And I had actually 6 of them, but they're really small, maybe like the width of 2 fingers. That's about all they were. And I ate them, and the next day I woke up, and I felt like I weighed an extra 10 or 15 pounds. I just felt so full and bloated. And I thought, what the heck? Why do I feel this way? And then I remembered I ate corn. Now, why is that so bad? I mean, think what they feed cows and pigs to make them fat. They don't feed them grass because they get fat, but not fat enough. If you feed them corn, they get really fat. And where do we get high fructose corn syrup from? Corn. So if you're eating corn, I want you to consider cutting it out, especially if you're trying to lose weight, because that's one of the biggies that's really tough when you're trying to lose weight. All right, lots more to talk about. I'm going to start taking calls, though. If you have a question, and the lines are open, 844-44-Dr. Joe. Rich, how can we make your day better?
Dr. Joe, I've seen a acupuncturist for my plantar fasciitis, and she's saying the part of my foot where I'm having pain corresponds to the gallbladder and recommended a gallbladder/liver cleanse.
Okay.
And just wondered your take on it.
It's always a good idea to clean out the body, but the way I look at cleanses is this. I want to cleanse every single day of my life. Because when we say cleanse, by definition, it's like diet, it's temporary. And so you really want to stop putting toxins in your body. And if you have that acupuncture point available, you know right away the liver and gallbladder are an issue. So what kind of cleanse was she?
That's a great point.
Yeah,
I gave up meat and dairy and stuff in August, and I gave up processed foods about a month ago.
Perfect.
And so I'm, thanks a lot to you. So.
Oh, thank you, Rich. I appreciate that. Nice to know that it's working. If you want to do it, I have no problem with it. Most of them are pretty safe. I'm sure your acupuncturist is probably giving you a safe one to do. And then consider that once it's cleaned out, you don't want to get it dirty again.
Right.
And that's a good way to live your life. So it sounds like a good idea. Now, also with plantar fasciitis, many times the bones in the feet move out of place. 1/4 of all the bones in your body are in your feet. So if any one of those bones move out of place, that can put pressure on the fascia, and that can cause the plantar fasciitis. So you can do the liver cleanse, but if you're still having issues, you might want to consider getting somebody who knows how to adjust extremities, feet, and get those foot bones put back in place. That should probably help tremendously as well.
I went to one chiropractor, and he said, well, I don't know if I can do anything with your feet as far as adjusting them.
Oh, no. Well, you got to find another chiropractor. Yeah, a lot of us.
That's something you guys do?
Oh, yeah, we do feet, of course. We do, 206 bones in the body. All my doctors are trained to move any one of those 206 bones. So I trained them personally, so they better know what they're doing.
All right.
All right. Great, Rich. Let's see how that works out, though.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Folks, if you have a question, 844-44 Dr. Joe. Beverly, how can we make your day better?
Oh, Dr. Joe, how nice to talk to you.
Well, so nice to talk to you, Beverly.
I have a question about bee stings. I'm now 69 years old, and in the past probably 8 to 10 years, I have developed a reaction to bee stings. If I get a sting, say on my mid-arm, my hand up to my shoulder will swell slowly over 2 days.
Uh-huh.
What can I do about that?
Well, that's what we're talking about today, because some people, you may have reactions to the venom, and that's just maybe your genetic makeup. But as we talk today, so keep listening to the show, we're going to talk about the things you need to do to build a good bacteria in your colon, strengthen your immune system, fix that leaky gut syndrome, and then hopefully when you have a reaction, it won't be as bad or maybe no reaction at all. That's going to be our goal. But the healthier you are, the less reaction you're likely to have.
Okay, I've also developed polyps in the colon, and I'm so confused because I eat a very good diet, plenty of fruits and vegetables, organic. I do eat fish and chicken, et cetera, but I don't know where this is coming from. I exercise.
Okay, have you always eaten like this, or?
Oh, I have for many years, yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I have one gal came in, and she's around your age, and we found hardening of the arteries in her aorta. And she was just actually angry at me. Well, I eat great and I work out, and she does. She was thin. She worked out. She has a very good diet. And I said, well, it's there. I can't not tell you it's there. And a couple of visits, she was actually angry with me. And then finally she went to her medical doctor, who sent her to a heart doctor. And he said, oh, absolutely you have it. He says, but these could have been here for decades. And she said, oh, when I was young, I did do a lot of diet sodas and on and on and on. So the polyps, again, you have to have fiber in your colon to get the colon working. And chicken and beef and animal products have no fiber. So my suggestion would be cut back on all the animal products and only eat foods that are high in fiber to push through the colon and get that colon to start to heal. So that would be my suggestion.
Okay, I agree. I understand that. And I have a very high fiber diet of vegetables and fruits.
Good.
Could that also be genetic? Polyps be genetic?
There's always a genetic component of everything. And so could there be a genetic connection? Absolutely, yes. So if there is, that means you have to work even harder than somebody else. So I would stay away from the animal products if you could, and keep listening to the show. We've got a lot more tips for you.
Okay, I always appreciate your show. Thank you so very much.
Thanks, Bev. I appreciate the call. Keep listening. Call in next time. Thanks. And, folks, if you do have a question, like Beverly, 844-44 Dr. Joe. Now, going to have to go to break soon. A lot more to talk about with allergies and leaky gut syndrome. But if you go to my website, drjoeesposito.com, and just Google Dr. Joe, hundreds of hours of archive radio shows there. So we put this will be up in the next day or two, so you can listen to the show again if you have somebody who has to listen to it. If you want to order my supplements, which I think everybody should, Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source. We're going to talk about seasonal tonic, wellness booster, probiotics, enzymes. These are all things that you really need to get into your body if you want to keep your body as healthy as you can. So keep listening. And if you have a question, 844-44 Dr. Joe, and that number rings through to my offices when I'm not on the air, because some people say, well, Dr. Joe, I want to make an appointment. Well, you can do that. And by the way, our supplements, books, everything you can pick up at our offices. We're in the Atlanta area, Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge. But if you could always pick them up at our offices, save yourself some shipping costs, too. Folks, got to go to break. 844-44 Dr. Joe. We'll be right back. 44 Dr. Joe. We'll be right. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe here. Woo! Cracked my voice there. I hadn't happened in a couple of 50 years there, so glad you could be here. We're talking today about allergies, and so many people are confused on what an allergy is. Is it allergies? Is it cold? How many of you say that, right? I think it's just allergies. I think it's just allergies. Well, there's an allergy. There's also a sensitivity. Same symptoms, so it really doesn't matter. We talked about that earlier in the show, which if you missed, you need to tune in. It's on my website, drjoeesposito.com. You can listen to the podcast. We have well over 1,000 hours of podcast. There are videos of live lectures. A lot of people like watching the videos because we're visual learners, and so if you like that, I'm a visual learner, so I would watch my videos, and I still like listening to the shows. But I can show you things I can't show you on the radio. And I do a lot of live lectures, by the way, so I want you to do this. I want you to follow me on Facebook, follow me on Instagram, and sign up for my newsletter, which is really the best way to get information from us. Just go to my website, drjoeesposito.com. It's right there on the homepage. It's free. We send out newsletters, but we also send out a lot of information. If we have supplement sales, if we have any special announcements like something seasonal, and whenever we do live lectures, we have that. A lot of times I have one coming up, actually, and we have free tickets if you want to come. Most of the lectures are no charge. This one they're charging for because it's a big event, but we have free tickets there for our listeners. We want to be there for you. So go to my website, drjoeesposito.com, and you can order books and supplements. And you can also send me questions if you don't want to come on the air. I know some people are a little shy, but the lines are open right now at the studio, 844-44-Dr. Joe. We're going to talk about more things that can destroy the bacteria in your colon that you're doing every single day, but I want to take this call first. Veronica, how can we make your day better?
Calling because I wanted to get your thoughts on my husband. He's been dealing with chronic migraines for the past 5 years.
Oh, ow.
And, yeah, it's really changed our lives. And recently, after doing some research and talking to his mom has a gluten sensitivity, and she has canker sores when she eats it in her mouth.
Yes, that's very common, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But he's been to every doctor, and he's had, all these tests done, and they haven't been able to find out, of course, what's causing them. But we went to a gastroenterologist, and we asked the doctor possibly about celiacs because of the symptoms that he has. We had been looking at the headaches and migraines, but he also has severe stomach cramps, when he has to go to the restroom.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
He has rashes, the things that correspond with that.
Right.
But the doctor that we went to, he felt that gluten sensitivity is possibly not real.
Okay.
And he also said...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And no, it's okay. It's what I did. And he also said that probiotics don't do anything.
Okay, well, you know what? Time to switch doctors. That's the best advice I can give you there.
And then he said canker sores aren't associated with the gluten sensitivity.
Well, I mean,
it has nothing to do with it.
A famous guy once said, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." And
are you sure he didn't know what he did?
Well, well, it's funny. People say, well, doctors have these secret things that they won't expose to the public. Trust me, I don't have anything. My life is an open book for you guys. We don't have special meetings behind closed doors and say, now, how can we spread cancer among everyone? Ha, 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 ha. No, they're just not educated. And when you're not educated or you're ignorant, I mean, the true sense of ignorance, yes, there is gluten sensitivity, absolutely positively. That's been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. That's like saying there's no such thing as breathing. Canker sores are often associated with gluten sensitivities, absolutely. So as far as the migraines go, a couple of things. Number one reaction that can cause, food actually that can cause migraines, it's kind of tied. One is artificial sweetener, aspartame, and the other one is certain fermented foods. Soybeans, miso. I know in Korean food they have a red sauce because I'm a vegan. I put this red sauce on it, and I get headaches when I do these things. Beer, wine. Even sauerkraut. Right. So first thing I would tell your husband to do is make sure there's no artificial sweeteners and nothing, no gluten, of course, no dairy, and nothing fermented in his diet. And let's see what happens.
We've taken him off of gluten and dairy.
Perfect. Okay, good. So try that. But the other thing, this is even more common than everything else we just talked about, is a pinched nerve in the neck. Because when the bones in the neck move out of place, the upper part of the neck controls the brain, eyes, ears, and sinuses. So you might see headaches, blurred vision, dizziness, loss of memory, fatigue, ringing of the ear, sinus congestion. The other thing, I'm going to cover it later in the show, but I'll give you a little preview, is he may have a hiatal hernia. The stomach may be pushing up against his diaphragm. And if that happens, it can affect the vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve has a direct connection to the brain. And so I've seen a lot of people with acid reflux, heartburn, burping, gas, bloating, the pain on going to the bathroom. We fixed their digestive system. In fact, just yesterday, I fixed somebody who had a phlegm in their throat constantly, pulled their stomach down, phlegm went away. So I would check the stomach, I would check the diet, and most importantly, I would check the nerves in the upper part of his neck to see what's causing these things.
Okay.
There you go. There's an action plan for you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Veronica. I appreciate the call. And that's what I try to do, folks. I want to give you an action plan. I want to give you something to do. Because you got to look at it and see, because it took me the longest time to realize that I can't do fermented foods. Certain fermented foods, like beer or something like that, or things that are made with yeast, because it can give me a headache. Artificial sweetener, I don't do artificial sweetener, but a lot of people come into my offices and they'll say, we're chiropractors, what do you do for your headaches? Well, we check the spine, but then we always do a nutritional workup on all our patients. And sure enough, here they are sucking down diet sodas. And an hour after their diet sodas, when their headache kicked in. And they just thought every day at 4 o'clock they had a headache. Well, no, every day at 3 o'clock they had diet soda. So many times it takes a little investigation as to find out why you're having the reactions. And we're talking more as we continue on about allergies, things that can destroy the bacteria in your colon. Processed and pasteurized foods, very bad for your gut. In fact, if you took pasteurized milk and fed it to a baby cow, that cow can die in as little as 6 weeks. Because when you pasteurize, you superheat something, you destroy something called enzymes. Enzymes are the reason that you, a sack of chemicals, and me, a sack of chemicals, are alive, but the same chemicals in a sack are not alive. Enzymes create that life energy that flows through the body, and that's why it's important you keep those enzyme levels high. So I do recommend you stay away from processed foods. Many times they have monosodium glutamate in them too, which, by the way, could be causing your husband's headaches if you're still listening. But you got to look at other things as well. Because if you're eating those processed foods, a lot of chemicals are in there, and when you heat something above 110 degrees, the enzymes are destroyed. That's why Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, we even have now Dr. Joe's enzyme supplements, and I think you should take them. Whenever you have a cooked meal, I recommend you take Dr. Joe's enzyme supplements because you got to get those enzymes. If you're eating something raw with the meal, I'll give you a slide on that one. But most of you are eating cooked food every day. It's important to replace those enzymes, and at least Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source, the minimum amount of nutrients you need every day, and they have good bacteria in them. Folks, got to go to break. The lines are open, 844-44-Dr. Joe, 844-44-DRJOE. My website, if you want to order supplements, my books, you get the blogs that we have, the podcast, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe with the number one Dr. Joe in the world. Also available on Amazon, too. Hey, folks, tell your friends about the show. We'll be right back. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. We're talking today about allergies and why some people have worse reactions than others, what really is an allergy, and what you can do to help your body get healthier and have a much less dramatic reaction. In many cases, no reaction. Like when it's pollen season, if you live in the Atlanta area, certainly the south, there's a lot of green pollen everywhere. And it irritates me, just like if you blew any dust up somebody's nose, it would irritate them. But I don't have the runny nose and the watery eyes and the sneezing. That just doesn't happen. The reason is my body's able to deal with this onslaught. And a lot of that has to do with something called leaky gut syndrome. In your gut, some of the places that in your gut, the cells are only one cell thick between your colon and the inside of your body. And so if any of those cells tear, you get little holes in them, relatively big chunks, molecularly big chunks of undigested food get absorbed into your blood system, and now your immune system has to attack these foreign invaders, and that's called leaky gut syndrome. And if the immune system starts going crazy and starts attacking these foreign invaders, but they also maybe say, that piece of your body looks an awful lot like this foreign protein, we're going to attack that too. Like, for example, gliadin and glutenin, these are two proteins found in gluten, looks a lot like the lining of your colon. So if the immune system is attacking that, it can also be attacking your colon, causing a systemic inflammatory reaction. The whole body becomes inflamed. So if you're not breaking down your food properly, it can cause tears in the small intestine, causing this leaky gut syndrome. And so one of the things that happens is if the stomach is spasmed and pushing up against your diaphragm, you're not digesting food properly. And so that's when the food passes from your, especially proteins, your stomach to your small intestine, where these big chunks of protein can get absorbed. So if you have acid reflux, heartburn, burping, gas, bloating, chronic cough, sinus problem, phlegm in the back of the throat, these could all be signs of acid coming up into your esophagus. And what we do in our office is we gently manipulate or massage or pull the stomach down away from the diaphragm. And when you physically move the stomach back to its normal position, it's able to start mixing the digestive enzymes, the pepsin and pepsinogen, these acids to break down protein, and the proteins get digested more efficiently, so you don't have these partially digested proteins into your small intestine getting into the blood system. So it's really kind of cool that a lot of your allergies may be a physical problem, not a chemical problem. And you can take antihistamines, absolutely, and they work great, but they don't treat the cause, they treat the symptoms. And that's my big thing when it comes to healthcare. More and more doctors are now getting into holistic healthcare, and we're treating the cause of the problems, not the symptoms. In fact, one of the major universities near my office asked me to teach postgraduate work, teaching doctors, to continue their licenses. And one of the things I'm going to talk about is the boom in natural health care and how 20 years ago, medical colleagues would never call me. And now they call me, I'd say 2-3 times a week. I'm having lunch with a medical doctor or orthopedic surgeon, neurologist, neurosurgeon, vascular surgeon, general practitioner, pain management doc. Because we're all getting together now and saying, all right, what would you do in a case like this? Well, Joe, I would give him an injection. What would you do? Well, I would try adjusting the spine. Let's try adjusting the spine first or adjusting the stomach first. And if that doesn't work, then we can go more aggressively. And that's why we're seeing more and more referrals from other doctors than we've ever seen. And it's getting bigger and bigger every week because the doctors are saying, you try to fix them first naturally. And then if we do need some extra work, let us step in and help you out. And I do the same thing with my patients, refer them back and forth. So we got to make sure that the bowels are healthy. If you're eating conventionally raised meats and dairy products, a lot of these are fed genetically modified foods, which are sprayed with glyphosate. We talked about that earlier. And chlorinated tap water or even swimming pools. Because chlorine is what? It's an antibacterial. Why do we put it in swimming pools? Kill the bacteria. Well, if you're drinking chlorinated water or swimming in chlorinated pools, the bacteria can be dying off from being exposed to the chlorine in the water. So that's something to think about, too. If you do swim in a chlorinated pool, I want you to get out and shower immediately. Or better yet, try to avoid it at all costs. Benny, how can we make your day better?
Hey, Joe. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hey, a couple of things here. And one, oatmeal, healthy or not? And then your opinion on orthospinology.
Okay, oatmeal has a protein in it called avenin, and avenin is similar to gluten. Now, most people, major majority of people, do fine with oats. But what I want you to do is not eat oats for a couple of days, and then maybe 5-6 days, and then eat some and see if you have bloating or gas, fatigue, runny nose. Most people don't have a reaction to the avenin, so you should be fine there. Okay?
Excellent.
And you don't have to cook rolled oats, by the way. They're already cooked. So if you've ever been to Europe, one of the big cereals over there is muesli, which is oats and nuts and seeds. So if you can just take plain old-fashioned oats, do organic, of course, put some coconut milk on them and some raisins, you got yourself a cereal right there. That's what I do.
Yeah, I used to buy muesli like 30 years ago.
You were hippie then, just like me, right? Yeah.
I'm probably older than you, though.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just sound young.
Okay.
All right, orthospinology. That's a form of chiropractic. And orthospinology, there's many different techniques. And this technique works specifically on the upper part of the neck. They just work on the atlas and the axis and the occiput. Those are the 3 top bones up there. And they don't adjust traditionally the rest of the body. Sometimes they do, but generally speaking, it's the upper part of the neck.
Right.
I've studied it. I've studied with the doctors that founded it. I'm old. See, I am old. See, Benny, you and I can have an old off. See who's older here. And very good technique. I find we get better results with using full body chiropractic care.
And including that with it?
We work on, not exactly like orthospinology. They take special x-rays and they hold the head right and they do exact angles.
With a drill press on the side of it.
Yes, exactly. I studied it. I learned
manual,
it.
Okay.
No, we do
All
manual.
right.
We also have something called an activator, which is a little pop gun, and we use that for people that are more gentle babies, things
I'm
like
familiar.
that. Okay, yeah. So we do manual work, drop work. I studied with Dr. Thompson, who developed the drop techniques. I studied with Dr. Desjarnais, who developed cranial manipulation and muscle testing. The organ work that I talk about, I learned from Dr. Desjarnais. So, yeah, I was around when all the greats were still alive, so it was kind of fun.
Well, I don't think you were around when Jack LaLanne was young. I think he was a chiropractor too, wasn't he?
No, he was a chiropractor fan. In fact, he would always go to Life University right near my office,
okay.
and he swore by chiropractors until he lived to 96, 97. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember me and my grandmother doing exercises in Hoboken, New Jersey with Jack LaLanne on the TV, on a black and white TV. I remember
the little jumpsuit he wore.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he still looked good at 96 years old. So.
Yeah.
All right, Benny, what else?
All right. Thanks. the topic that you had mentioned just before that, while I was waiting, it was okay. It was about the adjusting the stomach and the diaphragm.
Yes.
Okay, so possible maybe restorative balance with seasonal allergies.
Absolutely.
Wheezing.
We're going to cover that in a little bit. Got to go to break, Manny. Thanks so much. Got to run. Folks, if you have a question, 844-44-Dr. Joe, 844-44-DRJOE. You can order supplements on my website. You can listen to podcasts at drjoeesposito.com and send me questions there, too. Hey, don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe here. Glad you could spend a little time with me today. We're talking today about allergies and what causes them, what you can do to get your body less sensitive to certain things, foods, pollens, and then certain things it's okay to have reactions to because they're not good. And the body's natural reaction is to avoid things that are not good for them. And so that's something that you may not want to change too much either. So we talked about how the digestive system is key because the digestive system is where the body has probiotics. Probiotics are good bacteria. And about 80% of your immune system is in your digestive system. So many of us all day, every day, do everything we can to destroy our immune system via our digestive system. We eat the 7 deadly sins of nutrition: alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, artificial sweetener, breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas. The sugar comes into that group there. And so the sugars are killing the bacteria in your colon, but they're also feeding something called yeast. And I'm going to cover that a little bit deeper a little later if I have time. But yeast are the things that when they get into the system, can get into your blood system and go throughout your body. It's called a systemic yeast infection. So what I want you to do is this. I want you to consider testing for yeast. And the way we do it is like this. Tomorrow morning, get yourself a glass of clear water. Put it next to your bed tonight. Okay, when you wake up tomorrow morning, get a big mouthful of spit. Spit into the glass. And you could wait up to an hour, and let's see if you get this reaction, and it looks like jellyfish tentacles coming down. And if you start to see that, chances are you have a systemic yeast infection. It's not definitive, but it's pretty close. And if you do have a systemic yeast infection, we need to work on that immediately. This is not something you want to play around with, because systemic yeast can lead to all sorts of problems, including cancer, by the way. And so a lot of times we get somebody who comes in, we test them for the yeast, and we do find the yeast, we get them on a supplement protocol to kill off that yeast. And sometimes it takes months to kill it off. You have to work really hard, but the key there is you have to avoid all sugar because you got to stop feeding the yeast. And then when the yeast start to die off, sometimes you feel awful because now you have this dead yeast floating around in your blood, and the immune system has to start attacking this dead yeast to get it out of the system. And so people say, well, Doc, I did the detox, and man, I felt terrible. Good. Means it worked. And so what we do then is we get them on enzyme supplements. Remember enzymes? Talk a lot about enzymes, don't we? Enzymes get in there and help start to attacking and breaking down this dead yeast, and then it can be filtered out of the body. And the problem with yeast is that it has a biofilm on it. And a biofilm is a coating, and this coating prevents the immune system from recognizing it sometimes. So the immune system can kind of float by and go, oh, what's that over there? Oh, it's fine, keep going. But it really is a yeast with this disguise on. So if you get a good amount of enzymes, they can become more sensitive and can start attacking the yeast and breaking down that biofilm. But the key to break down the biofilm really is to stop feeding the yeast. And that goes back to the sugar. So that bacteria is really important. And if you have a bad diet, the microbiome, the bacteria are affected by a lot of different things. Food choices, environmental toxins. We said chlorinated water. If you have to do antibiotics, again, I'm not saying don't take the antibiotics. I'm saying if you do, you need to rebuild the good bacteria in your colon as quickly as possible. And you also could do something called prebiotics. Prebiotics feed the bacteria. Probiotics are the bacteria. And so in my essential source, we have probiotics and prebiotics so that you can get good bacteria into the colon and feed the ones that you already have. Where else can you get prebiotics from? Plants. Things like fructooligosaccharides. I just love saying that. Found in plants. And so the more plants you eat, the more plant-based you eat, the more probiotics and prebiotics you're going to get. Cabbage loaded with probiotics. That's why cabbage ferments so well. They have probiotics in the cabbage already. And so they easily ferment. and it just starts to multiply. So that's another thing you can consider eating is cabbage or fermented cabbage like sauerkraut or kimchi. Be careful with kimchi, though. If you get a commercial kimchi, a lot of times they have shrimp in them. And shrimp, not a good food. Even Moses, when he wrote Leviticus, said don't eat shrimp. And the shrimp are loaded with mercury. They're high in cholesterol. It's hard to digest. Other toxins. They're filters. They're bottom feeders. And so I'd recommend you stay away from all the shellfish, just like Leviticus wrote, what was that, 3,000 years ago maybe? Stay away from the shellfish. If you're going to eat fish, it has to have fins and scales and swim. However, the water wasn't nearly as dirty 3,000 years ago as it is now. And so you got to be careful eating fish. I don't eat fish. I haven't had any animal products in over 30 years now because I know what happens when you eat them. And if you're eating animal products, they may have antibiotics in them, which can kill the bacteria. So a couple of things you want to avoid if you want to make sure that your immune system is working the best it can and avoiding allergies. Number one, of course, is antibiotics, unless you have to take them. And if you do take them, rebuild it. Take some good Dr. Joe's enzymes, Dr. Joe's probiotics. I have a great probiotic supplement on my website. And if you're not eating a really good diet, I'd recommend you probably take that too. Antibacterial soap. Antibacterial soap kills off good stuff and bad stuff. And it has chemicals in there that can actually affect your hormones as well. I don't recommend antibacterial soap or those hand sanitizers. I see one here sitting at the studio, obviously not mine. Those are really bad, especially for children, because they mess with your hormones. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. They can damage cell membranes and disrupt the energy production of mitochondria. And if you're taking pain pills, I want you to consider something. Why are you in pain? Do you have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, numbness, tingling, muscle weakness, headaches? We talked about that. Because if you do, many times it's a pinched nerve. And if you could put the bones back in place and take the pressure off the nerves, chiropractically, many times you don't have to take those non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. If I'm in pain, I'm going to take a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory. But then I'll go to one of my doctors and say, hey, doc, take a look at this. Dr. Gail, why am I like this? Dr. Kat, Dr. Irwin, Dr. Dave, tell me why I'm having pain. Oh, you got a pinched nerve here, pinched nerve there. Let's fix it. And they fix me, and they pull my stomach away from my diaphragm so I can digest my food, and I move on. And most of our patients take health for granted. Well, if I got a problem, Dr. Joe's team are going to fix me. I know that. And we get in, we work together. If one of us can't figure out a problem, we check with the other 4 doctors, and we say, what's wrong? What's wrong? What do you think it is? And so we have 5 doctors working on your case, which is kind of cool. Stress, of course, just blows out your immune system. Proton pump inhibitors. These are the drugs that you take to block your stomach acid, often prescribed when people have acid reflux or heartburn. These are very dangerous because, yeah, they stop production of acid, but you need acid, A, to kill it, viruses, germs, and bacteria when they get in your stomach. B, break down proteins into amino acids. And when you take a lot of these pills, it can prevent you from absorbing calcium, B12, iron, and magnesium. So now suddenly you go into nutritional deficiencies. So that's why I'd rather fix the stomach, pull the stomach down away from the diaphragm if that's the cause, check the nerve supply, again, chiropractically, to the stomach, and then make sure you're on good foods like Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, adrenal supplements, probiotics, vitamin D. It's all on my website, drjoeesposito.com. If you're not sure which ones you need to use, you can send me an email and we can talk about it. Folks, the website is there 24 hours a day. That's where our podcasts are as well. If you want to make an appointment, if you have questions, if you want to order the supplements, also available on Amazon. If you have an Amazon account, you can get our books and supplements there. Hey, folks, got to go to break. The number here, 844-44-DR-JOE. We'll be right back. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe here. Glad you could spend a little time with us. Talk today about allergies. Apparently a very hot topic because we're getting a lot of callers, a lot of questions. If you have a question, you can send it to me through my website, drjoeesposito.com. Follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Instagram. Best thing to do, actually, is send us your email address. And you can do that by signing up for our newsletter, or just send it to us if you want to, through the website, and we'll put you on our mailing list. And we send out lots of good information. We send out when we're doing live lectures. Love to have you come out to the live lectures. They are a lot of fun. In fact, in the next couple of weeks, we have some free tickets going out to a lecture that we're doing. Some of them are free, some of them are pay, and if we can get free tickets, I always try to get the sponsors to give us free tickets, so give them to you guys, because I'm already there. And love to meet you. Love to have you come out and say hi. It's always a thrill to meet you guys. And if you ever need to make an appointment, if you have issues, you could always call our office, which is 844-44-DR-JOE, which rings through, that's the number here at the studio, which rings through to my offices when I'm not on the air. So we have a couple of callers on hold, so keep holding, folks. I want to finish up this one little thought here. So we're talking today about what happens when you mess with the bacteria in your colon and what can mess with it. We talked about antibiotics, nonsteroidal anti-inflammatories, acid reflux medications, pollution, stress, antibacterial soap. It has a chemical in it called triclosan, and triclosan affects your hormones, acts like estrogen. So I do not recommend use antibacterial soap or those hand gels either. Just good old-fashioned soap and water, folks, is really going to be the best thing that you can do. And another thing, this came up, the BBC reported on this. Lack of exposure to outdoors can cause microbiome to become deficient. You need to get outdoors more often because studies are showing that if you're in contact with plants and flowers and out in nature, you're going to have exposure to more good bacteria. So not only do you produce good bacteria, not only can you eat good bacteria, but you can just be exposed to the good bacteria. So getting outside is important. If you have a garden, I'd recommend that you get out and garden because you can start making compost and, throw all your vegetables and fruits and whatever else you have in there. Another neat little trick you can do is some of these companies that cut down trees give you free wood chips. They want to give away their wood chips that they ground up because they got to pay to dump them. And you can have them come out, and if you have a garden, you can put a thick layer of wood chips down, and that prevents weeds from growing. Just move the wood chips, plant your plants, and it'll grow straight up, keeps the water in, and as the wood chips compost, they fertilize your soil. You get that rich black soil. So that's a fun little thing. The only problem I ever had is I called one company and they delivered a batch, and it's a lot of work. You have to move them yourself, So I got shovels and I got wheelbarrows and trash cans. And as soon as I finished, the next day they dumped another batch. And I called them up. I said, I didn't want a second batch. Oh, we're sorry. Then they dumped a third batch. So just be careful. You tell them one batch only. And then if you want more, you can get more. And try to ask for clean wood chips because sometimes they'll put pine in there. Pine doesn't work as good as the hardwoods. But it's a little gardening tip that I use, and it might be helpful to you. But as the wood chips break down, they create good bacteria. So if you're in the gardens with your hands, you're actually coming in contact with these good bacteria from the soil. That's why it's important to eat organic because you don't want to be killing off all that good bacteria. All right, if you have a question, lines are open, 844-44 Dr. Joe. Let's go to Jerry. How can we make your day better, Jerry?
Hey, yeah, I used to drink a lot. I'll be 52 April 12th, and I'm taking like milk thistle, and I hadn't been diagnosed with any liver problems, but my cholesterol, bad cholesterol was a little high, and then I had a vitamin D deficiency, and I was reading about that, and it said a lot of people with liver disease have a serious vitamin D deficiency. So I take a lot of vitamin D3,
Good.
And I take B12,
Good.
And I take milk thistle
Good.
maybe twice a week. I was wondering, what can somebody do who drink a lot in their younger years, and now they're older, they may drink, say, a 12-pack a month or something like that. What can you do to help your liver?
Well, you're doing a lot of the right things. Milk thistle is great. It has silmarian. Silmarian is a nutrient that can actually help the liver heal. Staying away from the sugar is going to be a key for everyone, Jerry, because the sugar, especially fructose, converts into uric acid in the liver. It converts into glucose in the liver, and a waste product is uric acid. And uric acid can get in your joints, and it hurts. And as a chiropractor, of course, my team of doctors, we're always looking for pain and the cause of the pain. So getting the liver cleaned up and staying away from fructose and high fructose corn syrup is going to be a key. The milk thistle is great. Drinking a lot of water is going to be great. I would recommend, and the vitamin D is awesome. We have a Dr. Joe's vitamin D as well. So it's very, very common to have vitamin D deficiency. The B vitamins, absolutely. We have a Dr. Joe's B complex as well. So you're doing great there. And eating more enzymes and more raw foods. I have a Dr. Joe's enzyme supplement you might want to consider because the enzymes are going to get in there and help the liver work more efficiently. And then another thing I take is Dr. Joe's nitric oxide support, which opens up the blood vessels. And if you were a drinker, you probably have fatty liver. And by opening up the blood vessels, you get circulation through all parts of the body, the sex organs, the brain, the liver, and that may help as well. And staying away from meats and dairy products, of course, going to a plant-based diet. Make sense?
Okay.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, Jerry. Appreciate the call. Boy, a lot of good questions here today, folks. So let's talk about Jerry for a second there. Jerry, well, I don't know Jerry, if it's a real name or not. Drinking alcohol increases allergic reactions. Scientists in Spain recorded a link between moderate alcohol consumption and antibodies found at high levels in people prone to developing allergies. Antibodies known as IgE antibodies cause allergic symptoms by overreacting to generally harmless conditions such as pollution, mold, and animal dander. So the alcohol can affect the IgE production. Patients allergic to house dust mites, regular alcohol intake was associated with increased levels of specific IgE against 3 mites. So with the alcohol, you're having more grand reactions. So once again, someone like Jerry may be having an issue like that. And a lot of people that drink, and if you drink socially, it doesn't take a whole lot. Now, the findings from this study are more likely to offer clues on how the immune system function in regards to allergies. And if you drink moderate alcohol, you might be likely to develop an allergic reaction to something, even if you think you're not doing any harm. And that's the big thing with moderate consumption. Even a little bit isn't good for you. And if you're drinking sweet drinks, like wine, for example, it has a lot of fructose. Fructose has to be converted into fructose gets converted into uric acid when it's being converted into glucose. So fructose becomes glucose after about 20 grams a day, 30 grams a day. Your body starts producing uric acid. Uric acid gets in your joints and it hurts. You probably have heard of uric acid with gout. Well, it gets in all the joints. And so when patients come in our offices, we sit down with them and we'll say, hey, listen, let's look at your diet because that may be why you're having pain. Along with chiropractic issues, it's very seldom do we find somebody who doesn't have a pinched nerve. And especially if there's been trauma. For example, a car accident. I've never seen a car accident ever where the cars were damaged and the occupants weren't. If the cars were damaged, you were damaged 100% of the time. That's why so many people in car accidents come see us. And we get referrals from attorneys and insurance companies because they know we're not just going to run up the bills and get the person, in and out of the office. We want to get to the cause of the problem, not just treat the symptoms. And then we get them on a good diet, at least Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. That's the minimum supplements, folks, you should be taking. And then B vitamins is a good idea. Vitamin D is a good idea. We have all the supplements on my website, drjoeesposito.com. Just Google Dr. Joe. Also available on Amazon, too. My books are there, too. Hey, folks, got to go to break. When we come back, I'm going to talk about yeast infection. Is that the missing link to why you're having allergies? The answer is probably, many times, yes. Phone number, 844-44-Dr. Joe. My website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. Also, sign up for my newsletter on my website. Want to send you some good information. Don't go anywhere. Tell your friends about the show. We'll be right back. Tell your friends about... Hey, folks, Dr. Joe here. Maud's laughing at me here. I forgot to push the button to come on the air. So, Maud, don't laugh at me. I'm old. So, there you go. Pick on me. I'll show you, Mr. Whippersnapper. So... Anyway, we're talking today about allergies and what can cause them. And I want to talk about yeast because this might be the missing link for you, and oftentimes it is for folks. But I do want to take this call first. Karen, how can we make your day better?
Hi, Dr. Joe. Thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome.
I have a back injury, and I've seen a chiropractor for a couple of years. I've done all the non-surgical procedures I could possibly do, so they're now saying surgery is my only option. I have 2 discs, herniated disc L4 and 5, and spondylolisthesis.
Spondylolisthesis. I have it too. Yeah, it's a fracture of your 5th lumbar. Yep. Mm-hmm. I have it too. So there are certain adjustments you need specifically for spondylolisthesis patients. Like having it, I know all about it. And just like anything else, chiropractic oftentimes is very successful. The chiropractor may not be a good match for you. So have you been to just one chiropractor, or have you tried different ones?
I've seen 2.
2, okay, good. All right. Couple of things. You might want to get that spondylo specifically adjusted. Have they adjusted you from the front as opposed to pushing from the back?
Gosh, I don't know. I've 8 months with someone, and
okay.
I think I've had everything adjusted.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Sometimes, you might even want to consider stem cells as well. Sometimes stem cells might be able to get in there and help heal as well. So that might be an option. If you don't know who to go to, you can call my office tomorrow. I'll give you his number.
Okay.
But yeah, I would try, whenever discs are involved, I always want to check the psoas muscle, PSOAS. The psoas muscle is the only muscle in the body that actually attaches to the discs. All the other muscles attach to bones. And if the psoas is spasmed, it can pull the discs out of place. And all the adjusting in the world is good, but it's not going to get that psoas to release. And once you get that psoas to release, then the discs can kind of suck back in. And many times that's the resolution. Because I would try everything I could. I'm not against surgery, but I would try everything I could before I go to surgery.
That's how I feel. I'm not excited about that idea at all.
Yeah, I see. And again, I see a lot of successful surgeries, but I see a lot of failures. And many times it's not the doctor's fault. The body produces scar tissue. The doctor did the best they could, but the body just then didn't heal from the surgery. So I'd rather try to fix it without the surgery if possible.
Now, what area did you say?
The spondylo is usually the 5th lumbar, sometimes the 4th, but it's almost always the 5th.
Okay.
And it slides forward. And so what I do with my patients and when I get adjusted is I lay on my back and roll up in a ball, bring my knees to my chest. We put on what's called a drop table. And as my doctors push down, my sacrum moves, it stops, and then my fifth lumbar keeps moving. So it's kind of explaining how a drop table works.
Okay, I have done that.
You have done that. Okay, good. All right. So I would check the psoas as another thing, just in case it's something as simple as a psoas. And we have an office not too far from you, so if you want to come see us, we'd be more than happy to check you out.
Okay, that sounds great. I think I'll try anything. I'll go for anything now.
I'm with you, Karen. I totally understand. Yeah, call 844-44 Dr. Joe, when we're not on the air, and you can go ahead and make an appointment.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
It. All right, folks, got to cover this thing on yeast here. I promised you I would. A lot of food sensitivities. We talked about food sensitivity versus food allergies. So what I want you to do is try something called the elimination diet. Okay, it's written by, who's it, Dr. Crook, I think it is? Yeah. You want to cut out these foods. All milk, all sugar, including fruit, high fructose corn syrup, anything sweet, all wheat products, read the labels, it's hidden in there, processed and packaged food, all dyed foods, corn, eggs, chocolate, and all condiments like vinegar, ketchup, soy sauce, and fermented foods. You'll probably notice when you cut out those right there, a big difference almost immediately, usually within a couple of days. So what can you eat? If you go to my website, drjoeesposito.com, and sign up for my newsletter, I will send you a lecture that I did called So What Can I Eat? And it's no charge. It's all, up and up. We never sell your email address or anything. But do that, because then I can stay in touch with you as well when things happen, and we can let you know when we're doing live events, the topics of our shows. Sometimes we release special lectures that I don't put out just for anybody. We release them to our people on a newsletter. So you get some special benefits when you're a newsletter subscriber. And that's right on my homepage, drjoeesposito.com. Generally speaking, a lot of fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. If you're going to eat animal products, I want you not to. But if you do, make sure they're organic. Because if they're not organic, chances are they're eating foods that have been sprayed with glyphosate, which is a weed killer, and that can be causing some problems. You can try eating some beans and nuts and seeds. See how you do with those. If you get gassy or bloated or don't feel good, you might want to cut back them originally. You can eat a little bit of brown rice, barley. Barley has gluten in it. Wheat, barley, and rye has gluten in it, so you got to be careful with that. Oats would be okay. Quinoa, buckwheat. Buckwheat, by the way, is actually a berry. It's not wheat, so it doesn't have the gluten in it. And after 3 weeks, then start introducing one food at a time to see how you do. Now, if you do have the yeast infections, like I said, if you're just tuning in, get a clear glass of water. Put it next to your bed tonight. Tomorrow, get a big mouthful of spit. Scrape your tongue with your teeth. Get a good mouthful and spit in there. And let's see, within an hour, if you start getting these little strands coming down, looks like tentacles from a jellyfish. And if you have that, chances are you have a yeast infection. And then you really want to call our office. We can put you on a yeast protocol. It's several different supplements. But probiotics are going to be a key. We have Dr. Joe's probiotics. They're on the website, drjoeesposito.com. The enzyme support's on the website as well. Minimum super greens and essential source. Everybody should be taking that. In fact, I just got a text a few seconds ago from a friend of mine, and she said, I've been taking your super greens and essential source. This is the first winter she didn't have a cold, and she's working up north. And she said, it's just amazing. She goes, one of the best products I ever took. So it's a really good product, I promise you. And she's a nurse, so she knows her products. And so there's a lot of good products out there. I think ours are some of the best, though. And I know what they are because I monitor the manufacturing. Vitamin D is going to be really important for your immune system. Garlic is used for centuries. It kills viruses, germs, and bacteria. I have something called Dr. Joe's Seasonal Tonic, which is ginger, horseradish, cayenne pepper, onion, and garlic. And it tastes like a really strong salad dressing, but it's really great for wiping out infections, including if you have yeast infections. And we also have Dr. Joe's Immune Booster to help build up the white blood cells. And I take the Immune Booster every day in the winter, and I didn't get a flu this year. A lot of people around me did. My patients did. My staff did. My friends did. Not even an inkling of the flu. So that kind of works. With the yeast protocol, though, it's really important that you do something about it. And the number one thing that you have control over is you got to stop eating the sugars. Because sugar weakens your immune system. In my book, Prescription for Extreme Health, we have a whole chapter just on sugar. So if you want to get that, you can get that on my website. The supplements, by the way, are on my website as well, drjoeesposito.com, along with our podcasts. You can get the supplements on Amazon as well if you have an Amazon account. But, folks, start taking care of yourself. It's a whole lot cheaper to be healthy than it is to be sick. And if you didn't get everything, this show's going to be put on the website tomorrow, drjoeesposito.com. You can pick it up there if you want to make an appointment to come see us. drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe, number one Dr. Joe in the world. Also, the phone number is 844-44-Dr. Joe. Hey, folks, got to go. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks for telling your friends about the show. Sign up for the newsletter. We'll see you soon. Sign up for the newsletter.